First thing, creating a new list. There's two ways of doing that. You can go ahead and click the Create New List button at the top right over here on the overview page and either navigate to lists to view them or just click the shortcut Create New List. It's very simple to create a list. All you need to do is provide a name. So I will just call this demo test list. And you'll get this option for subscription type. By default, it's set to no confirmation required. There is only two options, no confirmation required and email confirmation required, double opt-in. So the difference between these two are no confirmation required is typically used if you have received opt-in from your subscribers externally. So say they've signed up on your website and that's how you've acquired their email address and how you'll be sending emails to them. If you use the email confirmation required double opt-in, what this will do, you'll see that it also changes the button here. What this will do is basically make it that when an individual is added to this list, then our system will send out a email that you'll put together. And in that email, you'll have two required links. One will be to confirm that they'd like to opt into the list, and the other will be that they would not like to opt into the list. That's basically just a second stage of opt-in confirmation. So if somebody, say, signed up on your website and they got added to this list, it would then send them a confirmation email saying, "Hi, you signed up. Are you sure you'd like to sign up? We just want to make 100% sure." So for now, I'll just leave it as no confirmation required. And this hidden list section over here, basically hidden list will allow you to choose whether the subscribers themselves can see that they're subscribed to this list or not. But that's only relevant if you allow the subscribers to see their subscription preferences in your account. So unless you specifically give them that link, this isn't really relevant. So for now, I'm just going to leave that unticked. Okay, so the next stage is to just click Create List, and the list will be created. Now it's shortcutted me to the Adding Subscribers section. One thing I need to do before I add subscribers is ensure that there is no other information I need besides the email address. If I want to send an email with any sort of personalization, that means that I need to have a custom field available for that information. So I'll just show you what that means. You'll see on the bottom left over here, it says, please note custom fields that you would like to be populated need to be created before importing subscribers. So it's got a little please click here to create custom fields. And if I click that, it'll shortcut me to the list itself, demo test list. This is the settings page for that list. And you'll notice that it's shortcutted me to this list options custom fields. And the section in the middle here is the browse custom fields. So any custom fields that I've created, things like name, company, gender, I could say personal links, anything like that, that I want as additional information outside of the email address, I would then populate in this browse custom fields section. So say for instance now I want to add the first name as the additional information besides the email address. I'll click create new custom field, click inside here and just give it a label, so first name. Then everything the way it is right now is perfectly fine to create any custom field that's just going to hold text. The only thing that I recommend doing is checking whether or not you need to do this last option here. It says make this custom field available across all your lists, making this a global custom field. Now the difference is a local custom field is only going to be relevant to this list. So if I don't tick this last option over here to make it available across all the lists, I'll only ever be able to enter this information into this list for these subscribers. If I create another list and start adding subscribers, I won't have the option to add the first name to those subscribers. If I tick this, every new list that I create and every list that I have already created will then have the option added for creating a first name and adding that information to those subscribers. So I'll leave it as global because obviously first name is something that I'll probably have across all my lists. And even if I don't have a value, it's still nice to have the option to add a first name if I do get that information. I'll then go ahead and click Create Custom Field. And now I'll see that in the Browse Custom Fields, that first name and then a little label showing that it's global. But you'll see this again when we add this custom field to personalize our email later. Now that I've created this first name and I'm ready to add email and first name to my subscribers, I'll just go back to where I was now by clicking the add or suppress subscribers. So what this basically does is it gives me four options where I'll be able to upload my subscribers to this list. And once they've been uploaded successfully, I'll then be able to select them when creating an email and then send out to those people. So I've got four options here. The first one, copy and paste, is basically exactly as it says. You can copy a bunch of email addresses out of an email or an Excel spreadsheet or just a text file and paste them in and then add them as you'd like. You can also type them out manually yourself. Then there's subscriber form. Subscriber form is basically emulating using a subscription form like you'd see on a website. Using file upload, you'll have the option to upload either a CSV or a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. So if you have an XLSX file from Microsoft Excel, and then once you upload it, it's a very simple process. I'll run through it quickly now, and you can basically see how it goes. The external MySQL database that's only relevant if your data is housed on a database. I've chosen the file upload as the method of adding the subscribers. So all it's asking me here is just to click on the choose file and find the file in my computer. So there's the file here. It's on my desktop, database demo xlsx. I'll I'll click on that. And then you'll see it's selected here as database xlsx. All I have to do then is click next. It'll tell me I'm uploading this file or sure I want to proceed. So I know I've got the right file, click confirm. Now you'll notice that it's taken me to the next stage where I need to map those fields. So inside that Excel spreadsheet, I had two columns, one with the email address and one with the first name. It's very simple. Once you've got to this stage and you've uploaded the file, just click on the drop-down menu here and choose the relevant piece of information to map it to. So I can see that this is an email address, or maybe I have the header information that says as a label email address. Then I'll just choose email address as the corresponding piece of information. And I can see here that I've got a first name, so I'll just choose first name. And now those have been mapped. So I'll just go through a couple of the settings here, just so you understand what they are whenever you go through this process and add subscribers. The first settings, the import settings, it's very important that if you're adding subscribers to leave these three settings alone. The top one that's set by default, don't add to suppression list, is what you select and what is selected by default if you're adding subscribers. The only time you'd use these other two is if you wanted to block subscribers. So the two options you have here is add to global suppression list, and you'll notice when I click on these, it takes away those other options, which is a clear indicator that you are no longer adding subscribers. You're now globally suppressing them or suppressing them on just the list. Now what these do is they decide if you choose add to global suppression list, all these subscribers that I'm adding will be globally blocked from receiving emails across your entire account. So no matter what list I add these to, they won't receive emails so long as they're on this global suppression list. It is possible to remove them off the global suppression list, but that's what this functionality is for, to basically block all emails going to these email addresses I'm currently importing. The next option is exactly the same functionality, but it's not across the entire account, it's just for this list. So because I'm just adding them, I'll just keep the default, don't add to suppression list, because I don't want to suppress them. The next two options we have, again, they're perfectly fine as they are by default. The first one is update the subscriber information of duplicates with import data. That basically means that when the system finds the same email address that exists, say for instance you've already uploaded michael@totalsend.com, and it finds that as a duplicate in the list, if I have this ticked, it will find that and just update that with any more information that I have. So say for instance I first uploaded michael@totalsend.com, but I didn't have the first name. If this is ticked, when it finds michael@totalsend.com again and says, okay, you've already got the subscriber, any additional information like the first name will then be updated and added to that subscriber. The next option is trigger autoresponder subscription behaviors in web services and update statistics. So this is unticked by default because it does slow down the import process a little bit. Basically because what it does is it looks through your entire account's lists and sees, does this list have some sort of subscription behavior set up? Okay, so once I've finished all those settings and chosen the email address and any other relevant information, I just click next. And then the system will go ahead and import them. Now, I purposefully added a certain type of email address so that it would fail, just to demonstrate what a failed email address looks like. The one that failed was a role-based email address. Now on bulk imports, what we do is role-based email addresses are typically not used by individuals. They're used by a position in a company. We block those because there's a high chance that those aren't fully opted in subscribers. There is a way of adding those email addresses. So see, if I click the download, it will give me a little CSV file which I can open, and it'll show me which email address failed. And this one is admin at. So I've got admin at TotalSend because it says admin, it blocked it, and I'll know, okay, well, it's a role-based email address. It's still a valid email address. It's just not allowed to be imported in the bulk import. So now that I've successfully imported my subscribers, I can just click return to list overview, and I'll then see that I now have my 4 subscribers that I've uploaded. So once you've created your list, you've uploaded your subscribers, the next stage is to create an email and start sending it out to that list. So I'm going to go ahead and shortcut to campaigns. You'll notice that in campaigns, you've got a couple of folders, much like you'd see in any sort of email client. You've got your send folder, all the emails that you've sent out. Your outbox is currently sending emails. Your drafts are everything that you've saved to send out at a later stage. Scheduled is anything that's obviously scheduled to be sent out at some point in time. Paused is anything you've either manually paused or has been paused by the system. Now, emails usually only get paused by the system if you are on a email credit plan and the credits run out or something strange happens like that. Typically, your emails should not be in pause unless you've manually paused them yourself. And then this last little folder over here, pending approval, is basically a folder that holds all your emails, or it should actually just be one email, your first email, which is usually up for review just by our compliance team. All they're going to do is have a look at your email, see what kind of subscribers you're sending to, have a look at your content, and just make sure that obviously you're not sending out a completely mistaked email or like there's not something wrong with your content. And once everything's okay, they then approve it. It then goes into the outbox and then sent. And after that, they should set your account to trusted, and you shouldn't have any issues with going to pending approval again. There are a few things that might put you back into the pending approval, but that's usually only related to having bad data on your list that gets flagged. Only if you have like known spam traps that our system picks up. For the most part, you should only ever see pending approval once, and never again once you've actually gone through one send. Okay, so to go ahead and create an email, you just get create new campaign. It's quite simple. You just got to give it a name that you would recognize. It's important to make sure that the names are unique. They don't need to be. They can actually be the same name as any other campaign, but it's important to keep them unique because if you ever want to create a campaign from a previous one, as in duplicate the campaign, you'll need to reference it by name from a drop-down menu. And if all of them have the same name, it's going to be difficult to tell which one was which. So usually it's good to have a naming convention. I typically like to add a name that's relevant to the content, and then obviously the date, and if needed, the time, if obviously you're sending a lot of emails on that same day that have similar content. So say for instance, I will send December mailer, and then I'll just say 01 12 2015. Then I know that I was sending a mailer for December, and it was the one that I sent on the 1st of December 2015. I'll then need to choose the recipients that I'm sending it to. So you'll notice here that I've got two options here underneath this demo test list. And when I click on demo test list, nothing happens. The reason for that is we don't specifically make you choose a list. We make you choose a segment in the list. Now, every single list that you create will have this all subscribers in this list. That basically just means send to the whole list. And then any other segments that we create, like I created the openers segment, will then appear underneath the all subscribers in this list segment. Um, I can then go ahead and choose either multiple segments or just the one, just by holding shift or control and then obviously selecting whichever ones I need to send to. For now, I want to send to the whole list. So I'll just choose all subscribers in this list. And it says here that if you're not seeing the lists or segments that you want, you need to go ahead and then create it because it doesn't exist. We then have the option of A/B split testing. A/B split testing is basically creating more than one email and benchmarking them against each other to see which one performs better. It's useful to do this when you want to see if a subject line could be better worded, or if a small change in your content, or say, for instance, a responsive versus non-responsive version opens better, and you can kind of tell if your subscribers are using mobile devices or not. Um, to do this, you just basically tick on the A/B split testing option. Then you need to select the test size. So this is how many subscribers out of your entire list in percentage terms would you like to use as the test amount. So for instance, I've only got 4 subscribers here. So using 20% out of 100% means I'll send this email to one person, and the other 3 will receive the winning email. Currently, at this size, I wouldn't be able to actually do this because I wouldn't have enough. So let's just say I had 100 subscribers in this list. It would then send 20 people the 2 emails that I create, so 10 each. And then out of those, whoever opens or clicks the most, it will then send the remaining 80 people the winning email. I'll then need to choose the test duration. It's basically how long the test will go on for. So once it's sent the email to that first 20%, it will wait this number of hours or days, depending on my choice, to collect the results. And then once that time has been finished, whoever has the highest open rate or unique clicks, will then declare the winner and be sent to the remaining 80% to obviously get the best result possible. Okay, those are the settings that you need to create. If I keep this ticked, it's going to prompt me to create more than one email. Now, I don't want to do that, so I'm just going to untick this, but essentially the entire process after this is exactly the same, with the exception that you need to create more than one email. A split test is specifically set to split against a campaign A and campaign B. You can create many more, but it needs to be more than one email. So I'll untick that for now, and then I'll just move on. The next option, publish campaign in RSS feeds, you can ignore this unless you have an RSS feed set up specifically for your campaigns being posted there, which yeah, it's going to be very specific to whether or not you want your campaigns to be posted to that. If not, you can just leave it ticked, leave it unticked. It's not set up on your account by default, so this functionality is irrelevant unless you specifically set it up. Then we've got Google Analytics and integration. Basically, if you have a Google Analytics account and you would like to track the sources of your link clicks from your campaigns, you can do that. Essentially, all you need to do is click on Enable Google Analytics integration. And all you need to do is, if you have any links in your account that have the domain of the site that you're busy tracking on your Google Analytics account, all you need to do is enter that domain here, and any links that contain that domain will then be tracked with, will be given a link tag, and the link tag will tell Google Analytics when someone travels through that link that it's coming from the specific email on your TotalSend account. So say for instance, I have links that have TotalSend.com. It's irrelevant what comes after the TotalSend.com. It could be TotalSend.com/pricing, TotalSend.com/help, TotalSend.com/anything. All I need to provide is the www.totalsend.com without the HTTP protocol reference and without any sort of like slashes or anything like that. I just need to put in the domain, and our system will then go ahead and look at all the links in the campaign and find any of them that have the totalsend.com domain in them. Okay, once I'm happy with that, I just click Create Campaign. And now I need to decide how I'm going to create the email. Now I'm just going to pause here for a second and find out from you how exactly you go about creating your emails or uploading them to the platforms that you send from. Do you guys do you create them from scratch using a visual editor? Do you create them in an external party program like Dreamweaver? Do you code them yourself? How do you go about creating your emails? Do you use templates? Okay, sure. All right, so if you're going to code them yourself, and you do have a bit of understanding of HTML and CSS, then the best option would be to go to the from scratch version. Essentially, what this will allow you to do is then to take your content and paste it straight into TotalSend and modify it very lightly in TotalSend, but it'll give you the most ability to modify your content without restricting you at all. People who don't have that kind of expertise can then go ahead and use the template gallery, which is a bunch of pre-made emails they can use that will protect them from damaging the content or the style. Once you've created a campaign, the previous campaign is a very useful tool. Say, for instance, I've created an email and I like all the settings the way they were as I sent the email. But obviously I've already sent it, so I can't send it again. But I'd like to get all that content back. You then go and choose previous campaign and select the campaign by name. And what that will do is pull all your settings that you had as you had them when you sent the email, and then just populate them all into this current email that you're creating. So I'll choose the from scratch just so you can see what it looks like. First option you need to do is select the sender information. So this is who is actually sending the email. Where is the email coming from? So for now, I would say it was coming from me. So I would say it's my name, and then the email address is just my email address. Okay. Typically, you would put this as either a company name and company email address, or like for instance, I would say this is TotalSend, and the email address would be maybe accounts@totalsend.com. If I wanted the people who are receiving this email to reply back to a different email address, say they received this from accounts, but I don't want it to go to accounts. I want it to go back to sales if the person was replying to it and maybe responding to a call to action in the email. I would untick this, use the same name as the email address from the sender information, and then I can enter that different reply to email address over here. For now, let's tick this and leave it as is. And click next to go to the next stage. Okay, now we get to the actual content stage. This is where the email itself is housed. The first option we have is the content type. That's we have an option of HTML only, plain text only, or both HTML and plain text. Now, it's perfectly fine to send an email using HTML only, but I always recommend using both HTML and plain text. The reason for this is some email clients like Gmail require that you have a plain text version alongside your HTML version, and that little bit of extra effort goes a long way in reducing some of your spam score that you might get based on the content or anything. I'm actually going to leave it as HTML only, just to show you in the next stage when we get our review stage what the spam filter will show us in terms of potential spam score. So the next option we have here is the subject line, very important and it is required. So we'll just put in whatever we have here for our subject line, something relevant to the email. I'll just say your account is currently waiting for you. And then you'll notice that when I clicked on this, it brought up a little drop-down menu over here saying add personalized content. So because I created the first name as a custom field, I can then click on this drop-down menu. It's got a whole bunch of links that I can add, but specifically it's got this custom field first name, the global. This is the custom field that I created earlier. If I click on that, it'll add this little short code, and every time our system sees this short code, it'll look for a value in that subscriber's custom field. Right now, that value for my particular email address is my name, so it'll say, your account is currently waiting for you, Michael. So that's a little bit of personalization that makes it so that when I receive this email, I might be much more inclined to actually open the email. Okay, the next option, it's a very basic WYSIWYG editor because we chose from scratch. In your case, what you would do is grab your HTML code, click on this little HTML edit HTML source button, and then highlight all of this and paste right over it. Just get rid of all the old HTML. Okay, so I'm just going to click update, and then it's going to populate all that content in here. And then I can go ahead and select individual pieces and use the WYSIWYG tools to modify them if I need to. But usually if you're coding the HTML externally, you would go ahead and put this content inside the, you put all your links and everything inside the content beforehand. So once I'm happy with the content and how it's displaying, I will have the option to go ahead and add attachments. Just choose file and find a file on your computer to add as an attachment. You'll want to keep the attachments to a small file size, obviously to keep the email size low. Having a large file size will create an overall file size when sending to large amounts of subscribers, which can work against you in terms of spam. So I'll just click next to go to the review stage, and we can have a look at how the email is being displayed and obviously what spam score we're getting. So the first thing we can do here is then preview the email, have a look how it's displaying and if there's any issues with it in our email clients that we use. So if I choose preview on browser, I can choose to just click this preview campaign, which will open up a new tab, and I can have a look at the email and just see, is everything displaying correctly? Yes, it seems to be doing fine. That is the most forgiving thing you'll ever see with your email. Basically, it's using your internet browser, which is very forgiving on HTML code. The next stage is to preview it to our own email client. So if I send the email to myself by putting in my own email address here, and then choosing send preview email. In a few seconds, it will then send the preview email to myself. And once I receive it in my inbox, I'll be able to see if it's displaying correctly inside my emails. So that's the next stage. Now comes the final stage, just to see if everything is truly 100% across the board, to make sure that no person is going to receive it in a funny way and then start emailing me and telling me what's wrong with your thing. So the first thing I've got is the email content analysis. That's basically just going to show me how many images, CSS, and basically how my HTML is broken down. And then the next thing is the spam filter test. This is just going to give me an idea of whether my email has a good chance of getting through spam filters or whether or not it might actually just be blocked outright to start. So right now, the total score I've got here is a 6.3, and that is guaranteed to go straight to spam. Anything over 5 will go straight to spam. Anything between 3 and 4 is risky, and anything under 3 is perfectly deliverable. So I could immediately get rid of a lot of this score just by adding, as you can see here, a plain text version. So this 2.2 over here is telling me the message only has text or HTML MIME parts. That basically means it's only got an HTML version, no text version, and that's working against me with the highest score out of the three. The next couple of settings here, HTML has a low ratio of text to image area. Basically means there's too many images or the images are too big. I need to balance it out with text or vice versa. So I basically just play around with the size of the images or the amount of text that I'm including, and that should actually vanish as well. And then I'll only have a 2.0 score in this X priority header, and that is perfectly deliverable and won't work against me in most email clients. Once I'm happy with the spam score and I've changed that, I can just go ahead and click Create New Design Test. Now this might take a little while, but what it's doing is it's essentially sending out this email to all the major email clients and then taking a screenshot, bringing it back to us and displaying it. So you'll notice that it takes a little while, but the page will then refresh. And once it's refreshed and I come back down here, it'll have populated with a grid of all the major email clients. And once it's received those screenshots, I'll then be able to have a look at how our email is displaying across the board. So I can have a look at how it's viewing on AOL, Gmail Basic, Apple Mail. It's got some iPhones to show responsive. It's got Apple Android. I mean, it's got Android. So got looking fine there. It's got all the versions of Outlook, which are very important. You might find that most of your issues come from Outlook and the way that it displays HTML. We can see if it's being responsive in the iPhone and iPad section. Okay, it takes a little while for them to actually send the screenshots back, but that's just because it's actually sending a real-time message as opposed to using an algorithm. So I can click on, for instance, iPhone 3 here and just see, okay, it seems to be breaking it down into correct responsive measures instead of just the full multi-column version. Once I've gone through all of this and decided everything at a glance seems to be working perfectly fine, I'm happy with that, I can just click next. And then we come to the last stage. This is where we decide whether we want to just save this as a draft and come back to it later, send it immediately, schedule it for another time. So that's basically just choosing, say I want to send this on Friday, I want to send it at 9 o'clock in the morning. Then I would just go ahead and select those with the date picker and choose save. If I didn't want to do that and I just wanted to save it, I just click save as draft, click save, and now the email's been saved. So if I go over to my campaigns, and I'll now notice that there's a one email inside drafts. Click on drafts. There's my email with the name that I've created, when it was created. Now I have two options here. I can click on the name, which will take me to the overview page, or I can shortcut by clicking edit options, which will I'll show you where that link will take me, but I'll just go the long route quickly and choose December mailer, 1st of the 12th, 2015. This now takes me to my overview page. Once I've sent my email, this will all start populating. How many people have opened, clicked, forwarded, viewed in browser, how many emails were sent. All of this will start populating real time once it's actually started sending. I'll then be able to see more detailed views of these statistics in each of these reports page. So currently I'm on the overview, but I'll be able to see opens, email opens in more detail, clicks in more detail, forwards, browser views, and unsubscriptions. On each of these pages, including the overview, I can then choose export to CSV, which will export those statistics in even greater detail. And if I wanted to go back into this email, the first option I have here is to just view the campaign, make sure I'm on the right email that I was working on. And then the second option is to edit the email. Under campaign options here, I can just click edit. And this page, which is where we were after we scheduled it and saved it as a draft, is where we'll be taken when we click on the edit options and that previous page that I was at in campaigns drafts. Okay, so from here, you can see it's the same settings we had when we created the email. I can go ahead and change the name if I need to, change who I'm sending it to by clicking on separate lists, change any, add or remove any of the domains or untick or tick the Google Analytics integration. And then once I've changed any of these, I just need to click save. And if I wanted to edit the actual email itself, I just click on this edit campaign email button. And then I'll go back through all these stages over here. So I can just change the sender information, change any of the content. And that's pretty much it for creating lists and campaigns. The only other settings and sections that you'll have is the subscribers section. This is where you'll basically browse subscribers on lists. You can segment them by adding little rules like I'd like to see only the subscribers with an email address that contains, for instance, gmail.com or something like that, or just Gmail. Choose apply. I've got no subscribers with that, but if I chose TotalSend, it will show me all the subscribers that currently have TotalSend that are on my list. You can obviously remove this, just click apply filter, and that'll just show you all the subscribers in your list. And then you can go ahead and click on individual subscribers to just see the total information we have about them and update their subscription. So say for instance someone emails you and says I'd like to change from George at TotalSend to Jeff at TotalSend, you would basically just change this manually and say save. And then that would then update him and all the emails will now go to a different email address when you select him. Then you can update his name as well manually if needed. This can also be done through just importing over that email address, but this is basically how to do it for individuals. If you wanted to find just one email address, for instance, say I was looking for my own email address, like I'd emailed and I complained and I want to be unsubscribed, or I say stop sending me emails to this email address, send it to my personal email address. You could enter any part of that email address here and enter it by pressing enter, and it will start populating anyone who matches that. Like say for instance I enter TotalSend, it'll show all the people who come up with TotalSend, and then I can then go to that and change the email address or unsubscribe them or delete the subscriber completely. Then the last option here is the settings, and the only one that's really going to be relevant to you is just the media library. This will be accessible from the Wizardbig editor, so you can add images from the actual editor while creating an email, or you can just come here, create a folder, and then if I just click back here, you'll see there's my folder. I can organize it as best as I like. Go ahead and choose files to upload. You can upload multiple files at a time. And then once I want to reference those files, I just right click on the download button and copy and then put it into my actual HTML.